Stepmom hates me and make fun of me when we're alone but pretends she likes me. When dad shows up I try to be nice but she only has hate and disgust for me. When my dad first introduced my stepmom to me, I was 10 years old. She was very nice to me and he looked so happy that we met and hoped we could get along. They got married when I was 13 and I was happy to have a new family member after the honeymoon phase. My stepmom told me one morning that we just needed to pretend to like each other around my dad. But when he is not here, I shouldn't bother her. Whenever it was just me and stepmom, she would say things to get to me. I'm an introvert and don't like confrontation, so I just took it hoping she would get over it, but it got worse. She would talk about my height and weight and say I was a funnel-looking version of my dad. I hoped my dad would notice, but he didn't. He actually thinks she and I are close and that she understands me. My father is happy and I didn't want to ruin his image of her. This year my stepmom has started picking on me around my dad and he has either joined in or ignored it. Well, right now I'm at my ends and I'm scared. I'm angry and frustrated at my stepmom and my dad. Dad was away for work and it was just me and SM at home. She had a party at home with a couple of her friends. I helped set the house up and cook dinner cause dad asked me to help out, which was fine. After they ate, they were hanging out on the porch when I heard stepmom and her friends talk very loud outside my window. Stepmom's friends talked about how lucky she was to have a nice husband in a house. When they mentioned how nice it was that I cooked for them, stepmom told them that I was annoying and weird and she hated me and living with me and couldn't wait till I was 18 to kick me out. I was shocked that she hated me that much, but I didn't know why. To be honest, I thought we were tolerating each other, but to hate me I must have done something, but I can't think of what I did. I've been down since the day, which was 2 weeks ago, and I thought I was past the initial feelings, but at rugby training today, I burst into tears, and my coach sent me home, so I drove to a beach and cried. I was feeling so much. I honestly can't describe my emotions. I eventually fell asleep in my car. I'm trying to figure out how I can talk to my dad about it cause I'm scared about how he will react. I don't want my dad to be sad cause he does so much for me, but I'm not strong like him. I'm really struggling. I decided I was going to talk to my dad the next day and show him what I've written here. Hoped it would go well. It sounded like a good idea to me. But a few days later, I'm not sure that I am able to do what I planned cause Amy just took my car keys away and she wants my phone, but I won't give it to her, so she is waiting for my dad to take it from me because apparently I'm doing drugs, but I told her I'm not and that I've been at the beach. I wish I was able to say I followed through with my plan of showing my father what I've written, but sometimes life never goes according to plan. After my stepmom was taking my things away, assuming I was on drugs, I started recording on my phone and she said a lot through the door, many things about my mom and me and just plain hateful words that I don't want to repeat on here. I fell asleep while I was barricading the door with my body when my dad demanded me to open the door. At this point, I don't remember much of what happened, but my stepmom told me I had to leave the house and my dad agreed. I didn't know who to call, but I decided to call my coach and he picked me up and I was a crying mess. He didn't ask any questions but just told me that I was safe and that if I needed to talk he was here for me. I stayed over one night and the next day my dad picked me up, but stepmom was not at home when we got there and dad told me we needed to talk. We had breakfast and my dad spoke to me about many things my stepmom told him and I couldn't believe all the lies she told him. It was a long talk, but in summary it was my use of drugs and alcohol, how I disrespect her in our home. I don't do my responsibilities like chores at home and I'm nasty to her when dad is not around. He asked me why I was acting like this and if I had a problem with her. I should have spoken to him. I let him talk and when he was crying and asked if I had anything to say, I was at a loss for words. I knew whatever I said, my dad would be on my stepmom's side, so I told him I wanted him to watch the recording of the incident that I could send as an email attachment and the link to what I've written, and then we could talk more. I also said I didn't want to be here when he was reading and watching. I'll go for a drive and he can text me when he's done and ready to talk. He was hesitant at first, but I told him it was important to me, so he agreed and I left in my car to the beach and sent the email with the video attached and the link to my story. I don't know how long I waited, but many thoughts were going through my head. I was missing my actual mom so much, and what if my dad still sided with my stepmom? What can I do now? I fell asleep at the beach spot and was woken up by a police officer knocking on my car door and asking for my name. After confirming my name, he advised me to get out of my car and hand over my keys to him and to follow him to his car. He handcuffed me and assured me that I wasn't in trouble, but this was a welfare check because someone made a call that I was possibly suicidal. I didn't talk after he told me that, and all I remember was just crying. He made me sit in the back of the police car until the ambulance came and they took me to the hospital. I was asked many questions and was evaluated and was told I was depressed and may have extreme anxiety. The physician did say I might have other things but would require further testing and some sessions with a psychiatrist. My dad came and visited me while in the hospital, and when I saw him, he looked really tired. When he spoke, it sounded like he was crying, and he told me he called the police on me because of the video recording I sent him. He heard everything my stepmom said, but he also saw the cuts on my thighs and was scared and thought the worst. Honestly, I never watched the video, so I didn't know my thighs were visible. After we both cried, we spoke about a few things. I told my dad that I didn't feel comfortable living with stepmom after everything she said and done to me over the years, and I was not sure I could handle being around her since I didn't trust her. We spoke about arrangements and knowing my dad still loves my stepmom, and I didn't want him to choose between us. I told him that I could talk to my coach if I could stay with him, and after calling him, he agreed. I've also been admitted to an agency that will support me because I'm mentally unwell. I've been to one session so far and waiting for another evaluation to be done on me and some tests with my GP so they can diagnose me. I'm currently staying with my rugby coach, who has been an amazing pillar. He has set out some house rules, but I respect the guy and don't mind following them. My coach even set a date next week for me and dad to catch up on. My coach is an awesome dude. I thought of him as just a coach who just wanted our rugby team to win, but when he allowed me to stay over, he showed so much care for me, and I saw a side to him and understood how much he cares for my team. He has a lovely wife, but I'm kind of anxious whenever it's just me and her at their house. I was hoping that this would be all there is to the story, but unfortunately life likes to kick you while you're down. Since then, 2 meetings that my coach set up between me and my dad took place. The first was at the beach. We spoke and I told him a lot about what happened between me and my dad's wife. I mentioned how she would treat me when he wasn't there, what she spoke to me after they got married, and how she was awful to live with. I told him how I dealt with it for his sake, because I wanted him to be happy. I mentioned to him that I spoke with my coach about staying there till they go to university and then I'll move away, because I cannot live with his wife anymore since I'm not sure what I'll do. I'm never going to try and get along with her anymore. He listened and was crying and asked if I would ever get over this. I told him no, and I never wanted to see his wife and walked off since I was pissed off at what he said and drove back to the coach's house. He messaged me later and said I'm acting like a kid, and I responded that's because I am a kid. The second time we had a catch up was dinner at my coach's house. My coach invited my dad to have dinner and hang with me, and I was excited to hang out and catch up with my dad even after our last meet because I was feeling a bit better, but at the same time I was feeling anxious about the meetup, like I had a bad gut feeling, but I ignored it. Dinner went great. Me, dad, and coach had fun playing with his pool table, and later on that night coach gave us space to talk. Dad talked about my mom and me as a kid, just things he would tell me when I was a kid, and it was just me and him. It was fun and I really enjoyed our time together. When it was time to go home, I offered to drop him off since he drank, but he said his wife was here to pick him up, so I hugged him and he went. I kind of stayed in the garage and waited for her to leave so I could walk in the house, but I heard her say, "How's the little?" and I bolted out the door and told her to screw off. Boy, was I not ready for the slap my dad gave me, but all I remember was swinging a punch at him and knocking him down, and my coach pulling me off. My coach told my dad and his wife to leave. After they left, I told my coach I never wanted to see him again, and I texted my dad we were done, but it doesn't end there. Last week, I planned not to go to school on Friday and go for a drive up the line with a few teammates just to get away from everything. They ended up bailing, so I went by myself. I ended up driving to a lake and parking up and just was chilling for the school day and just drive back home. Later on, when I got home at my coach's house, I saw my dad's car parked in the driveway and thought I would have to square up with my dad. When I parked up, my dad ran out of the house. and looked like he cried for days, and he started hitting my car screaming to get out of the car and tell him where I was the whole day. I thought he was mad that I wagged school, so he ripped the door open and hugged me so hard and cried. I had no idea what was happening or what he was saying, but all could understand was "I'm sorry and I love you." After what felt like forever, he kind of calmed me down, and I asked him why he was there, and then he told there was an accident with a kid getting hit by a train, and it clicked. My dad thought it was me, he said when he heard the news. He called the school, and they said I was a no-show, and called everyone he could think of. My mate said I went for a drive somewhere, but didn't know where. My dad said he lost it. He calmed down eventually and said he would divorce his wife if I wanted him to, but I told him he needed to choose that for himself. Because the reason I stayed quiet was to make him happy. If he is unhappy, he should make a choice for himself, because I don't want to be the reason he is unhappy. Now I have to look after myself, and that is getting away from her. And he cried and just said sorry some more. He ended up sleeping over in the same room as me that night and the night after, because I think he was scared and just trying to deal with all the emotions. I was okay with it, and my coach allowed it. He left after the weekend to sort himself out back at his home. I told him that where I am is good for me, not to worry, and that I'll turn off do not disturb on my phone so I can see texts. That's pretty much it, really. I don't know what my dad is going to decide to do with his wife, but I am definitely not ever going to associate with her ever in the foreseeable future. I love my dad too much to stop seeing him, but he knows my boundaries since I've set them out clear as day. And he knows as much as I love him, I will cut him off if I feel like it's not for me. I'm moving past what happened between me and my dad's wife for me, because I'm tired of letting her beat me in my mind. So I just got to work on me. I'm currently happy staying with my coach and his wife. They have been amazing and have shown me so much love. They have awesome kids who I have met, and they have invited me to their family Christmas. I feel bad that I feel anxious when I'm around the coach's wife, but I'm working on it with my therapist, and I have a good support system. I know I want to go to university, but not sure if I want to study commerce or law, but I know I'm on track with my studies. I just can't afford to skip any more school. I would like to say that if you ever feel down, there is help out there for you, no matter where you are in life. I'm glad I shared my story, and because of it, I've learned so much about myself and many things I won't forget and teach to my kids. Now I've got to go school. Take care, and cheers. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to subscribe for more.